Hello everyone. I cannot tell you how many times I have seen some new player who has just spent a bunch of money on a bunch of equipment and is real excited about it and is just getting all into paintball, and then they make a mistake that they did not know was a mistake and completely doink some of their equipment. And it happens all the time, and it's usually like one of only a few things that people are just constantly doing that just wrecks their stuff. So I'm gonna try and get ahead of that, and I'm gonna try and make a video about 5 things you should definitely not do when trying to take care of your equipment. So like, these are things you don't wanna do. Just remember that. Don't skip this part of the video and then start doing all the things I list off. Don't do these things. In no particular order either, but these are just basically 5 of the most common mistakes that I see that new players make that they just they don't know better. So hopefully now you do. And first one's a really, really simple one, and that's regarding taking care of your mask, or really just the lens of your mask. If you have a mask, you hopefully have a dual pane lens in that mask, hopefully. If you don't, go buy a dual pane lens or a mask with a dual pane lens. And that dual pane lens can totally be pooched really, really easily if you submerge it in water. You really do not want to do that. Never submerge those things in water. The reason for that is basically a dual pane lens. It's like a lens and then a vacuum and then another lens. And then those two lenses are sealed together with like a strip of adhesive between them. If you submerge it in water, the water's gonna eat through that adhesive, and the second that seal goes, as soon as that vacuum is compromised, that lens becomes the worst lens ever. It fogs up so bad, so quick. It's basically useless. Like, you completely destroy it. You can't fix that. You just got to get a new lens. So don't do that. Don't submerge your lenses in water. If you need to clean them, just use like microfiber. Ideally, water is okay if you're just spraying it on. You don't want to use any kind of harsh chemical or anything like that. Like, dish soap is okay, but realistically, like, I even avoid that. Paper towel should be fine. Nothing that's going to scratch it, but just don't submerge it. Just don't do it. The next thing that I am seeing people just destroying on a regular basis would be the ASA of their marker and also the threading on the bonnet of their air tank. The reason for that is a lot of people are constantly putting your tank on and taking it off while it's pressurized. And if you do that a couple of times, that's not a problem. It's not like it's gonna instantly destroy any of your stuff. But if you're constantly doing it, then you are chewing up those threads on the tank and in the ASA. If you have an on-off ASA on your marker, or even a separate one that you use it. Use it as much as you can. You really want to avoid taking the tank off and putting it on while it's pressurized if you can avoid that. If you don't have to take the tank off, don't do it. A lot of people, they have their own equipment and stuff like that, and I've seen a lot of new players that are just not aware of the fact that like you can fill the tank while it's still attached to the marker. Like, every time they need an air fill, they'll take the tank off and bring it over. No, leave it on the marker. There's a fill nipple on it. You can fill it up that way. Yeah, it's just something that like, it's not going to destroy anything instantly, but if you're doing it over and over and over and over again, you're going to chew up those threads. Eventually, you're going to have problems because of that. The tank is just not going to engage properly, or it's just going to be a bitch to get it on and off. So, yeah, keep that in mind. Next thing that I see very, 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 very commonly is, so I'll paint you a picture here. You go out for a day of play, you got your own marker, you're having a great time, you're doing your thing, and you just throw it in a garage, and then you don't use it again for 6 months. And then the next time you go play, yeah, that doesn't work anymore. 2 things that people do constantly when they just kind of toss their marker into storage and forget about it is they will leave it either with broken paint inside it, and that paint just solidifies and turns to cement, or they'll leave it actually caulked. Now, this doesn't apply to all markers. Some markers, you don't caulk it back like that. But if you have a marker that has to be caulked back to function, de-caulk it before you put it away. If you don't, then basically that drive spring that makes your marker work, the next time you try to use it, that drive spring is totally dead, totally doesn't work. If it does work, you have like the worst velocity ever. You'll have all kinds of inconsistencies and problems and stuff like that. This goes for magazines as well. If you're a mag-fed player, don't leave your mags wound. If there's a spring in your stuff, don't leave that spring compressed while you're storing it, because otherwise you're just gonna lose the strength of that spring. It's not gonna work anymore. So, you know, like, keep that in mind. Right before you just toss it into your garage or your trunk or wherever, just make sure that like the bolt is forward, nothing is being compressed, then you should be good next time you want to play. The next one would be, and this is less common, thankfully, because it's a lot more dangerous, but every once in a while I see somebody try and put oil into the regulator of their tank. Don't do that. Definitely do not do that. The tanks, like, I'll see people putting like oil into their fill nipple or something like that and then filling it. Like, don't do that. Do not introduce oil into a high pressure air tank. Like most of those regulators are designed to have like grease inside them, not oil. That's not how it works. So yeah, don't do that. That's a bad thing. And the final thing, and this is like more of a generalized statement, inevitably, if you own a paintball marker, you're gonna have to take that paintball marker apart, right? You're gonna have to do it either to clean it or to maintain it or whatever. Please figure out what you're doing first. And I know that sounds condescending, because it is, because honestly, like, I cannot tell you how many people like absolutely destroy parts of their marker, and then like they expect me to fix it for them. They'll be like, "Oh, I tried to take it apart and then I just broke this thing in half and now it doesn't work properly." It's like, well, yeah, if you need to disassemble something, look into how to do it. Look up a YouTube video, use your manual. It came with one, you probably threw it out immediately, but it did have a manual. It probably exists online somewhere, but like find out exactly how to do what you want to do before you try to do it. Like I said, I see people constantly that they'll have a brand new marker and then they'll just try and take it apart to just clean it or something, and then they will void the warranty, destroy something that like has to be replaced, strip some threading, break some wires. I could go on for days about all the things that people do when they just try to take it apart, not knowing how to actually do that properly. Also, make sure you know how to put it back together too. That's really important, because otherwise you just have a big pile of parts and that sucks. This is super, super important. I guarantee, no matter what you're trying to do, there's probably 100 YouTube videos about how to do that properly. So like look it up, because not everything is supposed to be disassembled on a paintball marker. There's some things you're really not supposed to touch. There's some things that if you do disassemble them, you will void the warranty, so you don't want to do that by mistake. And there's just some things that require special tools or something in order to put them back together. The list goes on. So, just do your research first. Talk to somebody who knows what they're doing, or if you got to bring it to somebody like me, bring it to me before you attempt it. Don't bring me a big pile of broken stuff and be like, I screwed up. It's just, yeah, I see it happen a lot. It's a really common pitfall for new players to fall into, where they think they can just take it apart and everything will be fine, and then they dick it. They just dick their stuff. Yeah, so what do you guys think? Do you have any other advice, suggestions, stuff like that? These are just the things that I see coming up like constantly. These are things that I find myself just telling new players all the time, just to try and get ahead of potential problems. But what do you guys think? Is there other suggestions? Do you have other like really important sort of newer player tips that you see happening to newer players? Like, leave them in the comments. Let us know. Help educate the guys that are getting into this sport, because it helps, right? Nobody wants to accidentally break something or ruin their stuff. It's expensive stuff. It's not fun. But yeah, if you got suggestions, leave them in the comments. If not, if you could like and subscribe, that would be wonderful. And thanks for watching.